It goes without saying that the variety and range of lost media topics differ quite a lot from category to category. For every Slamfest 99 that there is, there's a whole handful of lost commercials, where a couple might get big. And then for every big commercial topic, there are hundreds and hundreds of bumpers that sort of get pushed off to the side, unless a notable one is discovered to exist. But even in this social ladder of lost media topics, that's not to say that these lesser known, strange topics shouldn't get some attention too, especially since they can be interesting in their own right, even if they're not up to the caliber or prestige as some of the more well-known and beloved searches are. I covered some of these less desired and weird topics, and today I've collected another batch of wackiness to discuss. So let's start off with the first topic, and as you'll soon find out is no surprise, why it ended up becoming lost. The first topic of the video is one that comes from the game show category of lost media, which has always been a pretty popular one. Given the long history of televised game shows, and the oftentimes hundreds of episodes that are produced for them, it's expected that some will go missing. And of course, given the long history of televised game shows, it's also expected that there will be some less than great concepts that are worked into a handful of episodes, that were released before the series was either cancelled or fell into obscurity. For this video, we are talking about the former, a lost game show that caused such a controversy, it was cancelled abruptly and has become lost media. This is called The Chamber, which you might have come across before as it was formerly a featured article on the Lost Media Wiki homepage. This was a game show that was aired on Fox for a little more than a week in January 2002, hosted by Rick Schwartz. The premise of it can be compared to the likes of Fear Factor in that it pitted contestants against extreme conditions within an enclosure called the Chamber, which is where the show gets its name from. In this chamber, they attempt to answer a series of questions while experiencing this harsh environment. Just in the opening of the show alone, they mention a total of 7 different levels, which includes extreme heat, extreme cold, an insect room, and even electric shocks. The piece where the player was strapped into would occasionally spin around too, causing more disorientation. The whole premise is that it took both mental and physical power to overcome these obstacles, and win the $100,000 at the end. But what that premise didn't account for was for how exactly the audience would react to watching these gameplay segments unfold. As is commonly expressed online, this game show was basically a torture chamber, so audiences were watching people be tortured, and that didn't really sit well with the general reviews of the show from when it premiered. The creator of the series, Mike Darnell, even said that it was his intention to make the show so visceral that he wanted to hear the contestants suffer, which is kind of a wild statement to make. But this sentiment was not just expressed by critics and by the development staff too, who claimed to grow increasingly uncomfortable working on the project. Matt Vasgarian, a sportscaster who was supposed to be the host for the series, declined the role after hearing discussions about the possible dangers of exposing a contestant to hundreds of mosquitoes. Now, the player could opt out of the chamber at any time during the game if they yelled out, but their vitals were constantly being monitored too, and could be disqualified if they became unfit to continue playing. But when you have to go to these extreme lengths just to ensure the safety of the show, it probably should have been a sign to just not go through with it. While the views of the premiere episode were very, very high, they dropped off by 50% at the second episode, and the overwhelmingly negative reviews from publications led to the decision to discontinue production and cancel the series. So unlike what you might have expected the outcome to be for this show, it indeed was produced and aired to millions of people, so the lost media does not come from there, and instead it's what you didn't get to see. 3 episodes of The Chamber were broadcast for that week and a half in January before being pulled, and these ones actually have been saved online. You can see all of them right now, but what's still lost are the 3 finished episodes that were never broadcast. Those are still missing in their entirety. In fact, there are even clips in the uploaded episodes that mention the insect and shock chambers, which were not seen in the broadcast episodes.
Future competitors may have to endure the electric shock chamber, the water torture chamber, and the swarming insect chamber.
It's possible that the lost episodes contain some of these unseen chambers. But with everyone who worked on this show having disliked it so much, and with nobody really asking to see more of this, I think it's unlikely they'll resurface. The next topic is not objectively bad like The Chamber, though I'm sure there are people who would dispute this and count it as being equally offensive to the eyes. Because this is from the Kids WB series Coconut Fred's Fruit Salad Island, and it's about the lost pilot to the show. Believe it or not, for as often as I talk about how lost pilot searches from this era are starting to dry up, there are still quite a few that we don't have yet, and this is one of them. Now, Coconut Fred itself was a series that aired on TV during the mid-2000s, and is not a show people remember well, often being called a SpongeBob ripoff with over-the-top humor. I don't remember actually disliking the show when I saw it as a kid, so I revisited it recently, and yeah, it is kinda hard to watch, but definitely not the worst cartoon I've ever seen. Needless to say, it piqued my interest enough to look into the pilot, which dates back to 2002. Apparently, the original pitch for the series was supposed to be for Disney Channel, until the vice president of Warner Animation saw the project and bought it on the spot. It was around this time when the actual pilot was made, and based on recollections of it online, it sounds like it's an earlier extended version of the first episode of the series, with some differences in character designs and omitting one of the characters altogether. Now, you might not believe it, but there is a dedicated Lost Media Wiki forums thread searching for the pilot that was made all the way back in 2021. Here, it is discussed that clips from the pilot appear in a YouTube poop, but that the user who made it no longer has the source file. The OP of this thread, Miracle Miku, speculated that one of the creators who used to upload full episodes to his account might have been the source of these clips, and maybe uploaded the full pilot in its entirety. But at some point he may have privated it, and now that the account is gone completely, there's nothing we can do with this lead in particular. Aside from the possibility of the whole pilot having been online at one point, clips of it can be seen at a promotional event held at Six Flags, called Kids WB Crash the Backlot. There is also a promo that was shown at an upfront, which contains more clips from the pilot, from when this was being used to promote the series, and was the source of the clips used in the YouTube poop, though they did not come from this exact upload. But we still don't know if the creator had uploaded it at one point, though it does seem like a likely theory. However, in 2022, the director of the show was asked in a Q&A about the pilot, to which he replied that he might have it, but that he would have to look. The Lost Media Wiki article was never updated after this information, and the thread got really messy around this time, so I don't think there were any new leads after this. Right now it seems like getting the director to follow up would be a good start, because even if he doesn't have it, the knowledge that he doesn't have it would be useful. And possibly asking the creator about it too might be a good idea. It was mentioned that he was contacted once before, but the search or intentions with the search were not accurately communicated, so we never got an answer from this either way. It might be worth doing again if he has some social media and is easy to reach. Otherwise, a couple extra screenshots were found from WB promos, so even if no one can get the pilot right now, I bet there is still more footage of it out there in these commercials that could be unearthed with more eyes looking at them. It's time to change over from television content to gaming content, because there's a lot of that in existence, and a lot of it that can easily become forgotten or lost, especially when it comes to Flash games. These kinds of interactive experiences have been in existence since nearly the beginning of the internet's popularity, and given that a portion of them were just throwaway promotional material, it makes sense a lot would go missing. Of course, this is not just limited to games that were made in the early 2000s, as all kinds of more recent promotional content exists. But once again, I find myself being interested in some of the ones with strange backstories or brands I actually use, like what this topic is about. As far as I can tell, it doesn't even have a Lost Media Wiki article or thread for it, and was only mentioned on Reddit, which Sewer Reviewer highlighted in a video on Lost Flash games. This is a Lost Flash game from the drink company Snapple, called Good Fruit, Bad Fruit, and was first discussed in a post by Ben Animating 6 years ago, though more recently it was reshared to the Lost Media subreddit 2 years ago. In 2000, or possibly earlier, Snapple came out with a Flash game called Good Fruit, Bad Fruit that I played a lot as a kid. You play as a fruit in an urban environment, running around collecting Snapple, and dodging goo and gnarly fruit characters. The game had a really cool vibe to it. It's also stated that the game is not on Flashpoint, and that there are no videos showing it in action, or even screenshots that give us an idea of what it looked like in full. When I first heard about the lack of visuals, I had no idea that meant screenshots too. Getting the game or even having recorded gameplay from 2000 would have been quite a tall order to fill, but no screenshots is another level of being lost. I thought for sure there would have been some posted on blog sites or in the articles that talked about the game. Because believe it or not, there actually is an article from Entertainment Weekly that gives a brief review of the game, but does not include any visuals from it. The page itself is not even saved on the Wayback Machine, so it's not like there are hidden images that can be seen from an earlier point. The only content that we actually do have from this game is the instruction screen, where it talks about the controls, enemies and power-ups, and the playable characters, Strawberry Sweetheart and Peachy Keen. If you click on a character, the game is supposed to start, but it doesn't, and just brings you to the page where it would have been hosted, but there's nothing there. While it's possible more screenshots do exist somewhere, so we could actually see it, getting a playable version seems unlikely, and I doubt it's just hiding on a different website or something. What's even more unfortunate is that Ben Animating doesn't know who developed the game, as no one seems to know, and the only lead we have went silent 3 years ago. It was a claim made by someone on the earlier Reddit thread who said their boyfriend's dad helped develop the game. Ben even makes a point that this would have been a strange topic to seek out and troll, because this user did not have a lot of karma on the tip of my tongue subreddit. But this was the last post they ever made on their account, not even having sent Ben a follow-up message, so it seems more likely they just abandoned it and forgot. Early internet lost media is certainly one of the harder categories to search for, so it'll probably take a direct lead from someone that worked on it at this point to get the game found, if it even still exists at all. The next topic of this video is about a type of lost media that has sort of become its own little niche for how many topics have come from it, and that's screamers. Creepypasta and screamer content has sort of become a bigger interest with people and are always memorable to those who experienced it, as getting a jump scare is not exactly something that's easy to forget. Of note in this category are the Big Star Secret video, the Nun ad jump scares, and the TV Land late night one that to this day remains unsolved. But we're staying with the theme of internet jump scares for this topic, as it comes to us from the forums and from user Where Did I Go. I must have seen this one around the same time it was posted in January 2025, because it was a topic I remembered for this video, and not one that someone told me about before, or that I had to find. Now, Animal Planet itself, as the title of the thread states, is not exactly a place where you'd expect to have lost media, much less jump scares. But the post goes on to recollect an experience from the early 2010s, likely 2012, definitely during the more modern era and not before downloads were easy to do. It reads, "There was a video posted to Animal Planet's website that was one of those can you spot what's wrong with this picture type of videos, which were very popular around the time. It was from a scene of the show Too Cute, specifically the episode Fluffy Puppies and Baby Goats. The scene was from the German Shepherd segment of the episode. It was a shot of the mother licking her puppies that played, while asking what was wrong with the picture. After about 15 seconds, a jump scare popped up, but for the life of me, I couldn't picture what it was. Afterwards, it either said Happy Halloween from Animal Planet or April Fools from Animal Planet. With the exception of what exactly the jump scare was, this is a fairly detailed recollection and gives us a lot to work with in trying to find it. Starstriker from the thread used the episode title to find that the episode itself aired in October 2012, exactly around the time Where Did I Go remembered seeing it online. However, it was clarified that this would not have been in the TV version of the episode and only online. A couple other details were brought up too, like what the thumbnail looked like, believing this was it. And considering there is a viewer discretion advised warning on a video with a cute cat in the thumbnail, it also adds credibility to this being the clip. But then some confusion arose about the jump scare image itself. Where Did I Go seemed to remember a German Shepherd being in the video clip, but was unsure if the dog only made an appearance in the video or was actually the jump scare. It was suggested that two different jump scares might exist, until AxiFay had found another thread that seemed to settle in on one answer. In a completely unrelated thread about a Mojo Jojo screamer, which is also strangely lost, user Hunter2003 brings up seeing a lamprey jump scare from Animal Planet. While this recollection was mentioned after the original Animal Planet thread, it took a month for Hunter to find this thread themselves and add the memory to the search, meaning that their memory is likely authentic and was not influenced by any other suggestions in this thread, and is indeed what we're looking for, a lamprey mouth jump scare. They claim that apparently it was taken from the show River Monsters, which was also airing at that time, so this fits into the timeline even better. They also confirm Where Did I Go's memory that this thumbnail with the cat was indeed the video where the lamprey appeared, though they did say there were 2 different ones that used this. I'm actually surprised the memories here lined up so well, and that the details could actually be corroborated. Once again though, these would not be in the broadcast versions of the show, so just like with most of the topics in this video, you'd have to find someone that saved it from back when it was up, or find an archive of Animal Planet videos from their website all those years ago. Where Did I Go did look on the Wayback Machine to get the thumbnail, so it's likely the video itself was not saved there, and I'm sure it's no longer up on the website either. If this was for Halloween, as is likely given the air date of the Too Cute episode, it was probably just a seasonal clip and was taken down after the holiday. I did do some Google searches for it, just to see if anyone else had even talked about it, maybe on Reddit or some Animal Planet themed forum, but I couldn't find anything else. I'm guessing it probably wasn't remembered by that many people, or scared them enough for them to remember it. But it's still such a cool obscure topic that would be nice to get found. And finally, the last topic of the video is another game that you could have played back when it was still online, but has gone missing and is almost completely lost. In fact, I never even would have known about this topic if it hadn't been for an exchange on Twitter, where someone mentioned the game and then someone else asked if I could cover it. Seeing it as a challenge to try to fit into any one of my videos, I figured there would be no better time than now. Except, unlike the last topic that was a platformer action game, now we're talking about an anime girl puzzle game with a weird gimmick. Though actually before we get to that, there's another piece of lost media from this series that connects to the main topic. Back in the late 2000s, Electronic Arts Japan was working on a game called Hachi Koi for the DS, which was said to be a dating simulator. A blog that was reposted to Unseen64 discusses the plot of the game, which has been shared around online, and says, "Players learn from the death god that they're going to die on their next birthday, which happens to be 1 month away. The only way to avoid this fate, fall in love and make someone fall in love with you." The main gimmick of this game was reported to be touch events that utilize the stylus in a variety of interactive ways, and there are a couple videos of the game being played, and character artwork that is easy to find. So while this fully cancelled game that never came out is well documented, there was a second game, a promotional web game, used to advertise the main game which is also lost, but not documented as well. To help promote Hachi Koi's upcoming release on the DS, the developers of the main game created a web game which features the full-figured character Karumi Kasugaoka, who I guess was one of the most popular characters from the game. This web game, which exclusively used her, was said to be a clone of Tetris, in that it's a puzzle game with the same concept of breaking rows of blocks. However, the gimmick this time is that the blocks have been reworked into bars of chocolate, but when you clear a line like in Tetris, rather than hearing the normal sound effect, audio plays of Karumi eating the chocolate, which was said to be somewhat suggestive in its tone. But what's more is there's a second line of audio that plays, which the website Tiny Cartridge describes. And when you clear 4 lines at once to get a Tetris, you're rewarded with an even more suggestive sound as Karumi tries to push as much candy into her mouth, nearly choking on the sweets. So needless to say, this game certainly has some interesting features, but unfortunately, or maybe fortunately depending on how much you like this topic, the game is almost completely lost. Like I said before, I wouldn't have even known about this if it wasn't for the mention of the game on Twitter, and there are only a couple articles of the game online at all. There's one screenshot in the Tiny Cartridge article, and another on Go Nintendo for visuals, but that's it, so we can't even see the title screen. Though according to a comment on the Tiny Cartridge article, the game was not animated at all, so the screenshots are nearly a full representation of the media itself. The link to the page where the game was hosted was shared on those same websites, but when you click it, it doesn't work anymore, so it can't be played. Even on the Wayback Machine, you get the error that the game cannot be played. So unless someone saved this when it was up and just never said they had it, then I don't think we'll be seeing or hearing it again. But even with how lost some of these topics might seem, we definitely have some options for continuing the search, and leads that can be looked into. Even if nobody is wanting to play a Snapple platformer game again, the search surrounding it could still be fun and worth the experience. With how much strange and bizarre lost media there is out there, I'm sure I'll be doing another episode of this, so feel free to leave your own suggestions in the comments and I'll include them in a future video. The content pool is so large that all these little finds can add up and create some new content to enjoy, even if they're not as impressive as the big ones. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to check out some of my other Lost Media videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, Finn.